Hello, everyone. Welcome to TechNaijaFM, the podcast where we spotlight the people building technology that moves Africa forward and connect us with global tech ecosystem. I remain your host, Babatunde Esanju, as you all know, and today's episode is all about engineering scalable system just does power your local environment, but it powers the future across the globe. When we talk about scalability, what people actually put in place when they're building a system that is to grow, adapt, and survive the real world prayer, because the prayer of scalability and how the system can actually survive it. And today, I'm being joined by one of my brother from another mother. It's been like I think 10 years plus or something that we've been working together. I'm happy that he's the one joining me today to discuss about this, because he has done quite numbers of things regarding building scalable system, not only in Nigeria but across the globe. And we just want to learn from what he has done. And currently is the web development manager. When you think about someone who is the web development manager, you have to put in some understanding into that. And not only even in Nigerian university, one of the leading universities in the United Kingdoms. I'm happy to have you today
Thank you.
on this episode. We are going to break down scalable engineering, what it actually really means, the trade-off, and how founders, engineers, tech leads, engineering managers, how they can actually build a system that not just work locally, but globally. Before we go into it, I want you to just walk us through your journey from the get-go, because
Got a story.
uh, I know the story is much, but I just want us to learn one or two things from them, and we just pick it up from there. Thank you and welcome to this episode.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Babatunde, for inviting me on your content. It's a privilege, and to everyone who is watching, to everyone who's listening, wherever you are in the world, across the globe, it's a privilege to be speaking to you today. My name is Ifeoluwa Afuwape. I am currently the web development manager for Newcastle University, United Kingdom. And yeah, my journey, quite a rough one. I think like everyone else, thank you. Like everyone else, I started off as just a tech enthusiast, somebody who sees what the computer is doing and was so much interested in it. Yeah, let me not even start from the computer thing. I was someone who loved like designs generally. I loved designs. I love to just make things look nice. And yeah, my name is Ife, so they used to call me Effect back then. So they call me Effect because one way or the other, however this stuff is, I just like to add effects with. And how best would you do this? And of course, we know AI is coming, like is here today, but back then it was just computer was just the thing to whatever you do to add a few tweaks to it or to add a few highlights to it, you use the computer. So I wanted to know what the computer was, what it was doing, what it was capable of doing, and how to best use them. And that was how I got into computing. Funny how I didn't, when I say some of these things, it just sounds funny. But funny how I didn't study computer science, anyways. And
Wow.
it wasn't because I didn't want to study computer science. No, let me correct that. It wasn't because computer science wasn't existing. It was just because a personal decision of I didn't want to study computer science. I wanted to do electrical engineering, and of course, the Nigerian system, I got into agricultural engineering. But one way or the other, I ensured that I did what I wanted to do, and which is how I've got it here. I mean, the journey was just me consistently putting myself out there, learning what the whole technology thing is about. Being an enthusiast, you really want to know how things work, how things happen on the web, mobile, and stuff like that. And that hunger, that desire, really was one of the things that pushed me into trying to understand the basics of computing, understand a few things about programming language. Yeah, that got me some petty changes then. Yeah, I could do graphics, I could do videos back then, say 2009. And then I became a graphics artist at one company, and another company was saying, "Oh, there's this guy come to us. They offered me another money. They threw me from this one company." So, I mean, I was just enjoying because I was at then. as at then, I felt like I was good at what I was doing. That was just design. But I
Okay.
had much more interest in what really works behind the scene in terms of not just doing graphics and stuff like that. I wanted to learn programming as well. So I was going to get into the university. I think that was in 2013, 2014. I knew that, oh, there was this guy who was the Google ambassador, and that was just my goal. I was going to university, I wanted to just get into the Google team. So I went to the Google team, I started everything. Well, I wasn't the lead, I was Mozilla ambassador instead. I was just doing my thing. And yeah, by 200 level, I was the engineering, whatever, for computing, for like digital, whatever, and then built the e-voting system. I just started doing things anyways within my uni then, and then that got me out of uni. And then by the time I'm getting out of uni, I already got a job to work as a developer somewhere. And then before you know it, okay, before then, even I think it was in my 300 level, no, by 400, 300 level, in lieu of my IT, I was doing IT actually. And then I was also a master trainer in code because as of then, I spent my nights most times from 100 level to up until maybe tomorrow self. I spent my nights trying to understand how things work and learning more. So as at then, I was already very confident in Python. And then it was the new government in Lagos that wanted to do 1 million code and stuff like that. So they were out there looking for trainers to teach people how to train. And then I applied and they looked at it, it looks like you are too good for this one. Would you teach people who wants to teach the other guys? And that was how I became a master trainer on Code Lagos scheme. And I did it for a few years, I think. And then I worked with a few other companies as well in terms of training people and stuff like that, which I did for some time. And I didn't stop there. I kept on learning. I got into um the full stack thing because yeah, I really understood web to an extent, and then of course I'm someone who doesn't like stopping, so I did mobile, and mobile was what brought me, and we did a lot of mobile apps. Like if in terms of mobile, we built quite a number of them. And I understood the backend system. So it wasn't like I don't understand what was happening in terms of logic and backend development. It was just like, oh, I found interest in this. I could do that as well. So I did that. And I don't just like doing things. I like to do things with best practice, best principles, understanding the basics. So that was how I got into that. And then, of course, once your feather is very, you got like quite a lot of feathers, you also want to understand how to then manage people because engineering is just it's just the beginning. You need to also understand
Yeah.
people relation and stuff like that, which is one of the things we're going to talk about in actually building a scalable system that goes across the globe. Because your system is not just about what you know or your logic or your infrastructures and stuff like that. You need to understand the people. You need to understand even team that makes those things happen. So that's my journey. Let me not talk too much so that we can talk mainly on what we're looking at. So that's how my journey has been. And then, of course, I came into UK and before anything, the university I came to study in said, "Oh, okay, come and be software engineer for us." Like, I was a software engineer there for some time, and then before I graduated with my master's in engineering management, and then became in the opposite university, I became the web development manager and stuff like that. So it's just been not a smooth one like I've explained it. There's been days when like, oh,
Yeah.
we're even in this, and I know the years when we're looking at it that oh, what's next for us? But here we are, and thanks to people who were there for us, people who we were working together to say, oh, okay, looks like there's a way here or there's a path there. So that's been it. Thank you so much.
It's yeah. So it wasn't a small journey like you mentioned, and I can still remember while working on that mobile application that you talked about. It wasn't that
God.
smooth, but here we are today. Here we are today. Yeah. So like you mentioned, few things that we'll talk about. Is also part of Teams management, which I believe as a web development manager at Newcastle, you are working, or let me put it like this, you are leading a team.
Yeah, yeah.
How, at what stage, right, do you think that scaling a particular system is actually the best route to go?
Well, I think he's from the get go. So one thing we always make stakeholders understand or people that like needs you to build a solution for them is that they need to identify what their goal is, what their target is from the get go. So if you are building a system, right? If you are any solution you are building, your first action is not just picking your computer and start coding and stuff. No, it's not. It's not. It's not that, right? is first understanding what the goal is, right? It is the goal that determines the scale at which you build, right? And of course, if you these days, if you want to work in the top companies like the Apples, that those are like key for them in terms of deliverables or in terms of what you want to build, how you understand that design system. We call it design system to
Yes.
architect the system itself. So that's the first thing. Before you even bring up a computer to say this is how we're going to write it, before your UI designer goes to say this is how it's going to be, yeah, you probably do some pretty sketch or wireframing. But no, the
Yeah.
reality is scaling or understanding the scale is the first thing. Means that if I were to be, say, Nigeria, and someone approached me and say, I want to build so and so solutions. Who are you building for? What are you building, right? And why are you building? There are three key things that we should know. So who you are building for, the why you are building, and what are you building? Because those three things will answer a very important question in terms of you being the engineer or you being the developer or the architect, whatever you are, understanding that this thing I'm about to build is going to reach so. How can I prepare a system that can reach so? And then later in the future, you talk about testing and stuff like that. But just like a straightforward answer to your question is, when do you think scaling comes into it? Scaling is the first thing before anything, before you go to UI, before you go, once somebody approaches you, whether a contractor, whether a stakeholder in your organization, whether just somebody on the road who wants to build a solution, the first question is, what are you building? Who are you building for? And why are you building? Once you answer those questions, then it can give you an idea of what you should be looking at in terms of, in fact, some of these things helps you determine the stack you're going for, helps you determine
Yeah.
the sort of solutions you're providing, whether you're doing microservices, whether you're doing monolith. If imagine somebody who just wants to build a proper, like maybe a shop, let me not even say a shop website, maybe like an e-commerce website who doesn't have any customer anywhere. You get, and you're telling that person, oh no, let's go microservice way. It means that you want somebody who is still looking for money to eat to come and build several microservices to run where. Do you understand that thing?
Yeah.
If you, as because you feel that you are a very good engineer or you are a very knowledgeable engineer, you just want to land that type of problem on somebody who doesn't even understand what they want or who is still trying to scale or survive. So if you ask those questions, you would then know what to prefer for such people. And I think that's the way to go. Your first question to anyone is just understanding what they want to build, why they want to build, and who they are building for, and it will help you identify the scale at which you should build.
Thank you so much. I was able to pick a few things, and I'll call it you, right?
Yeah, of course. I think
You,
we're quite
like
used to
who,
that.
why, and what. But just a follow-up question to your explanation regarding that. I've seen cases where founders, they will be the one that will tell you that I want to use microservice. Even
Right.
they don't know about system design, they don't know about all this architecture, right? But because somebody mentioned it, right, to them, and they'll be like, this is what I want to basically use for this project. So how, as an engineering manager, how do you think we can actually re-explain or give that particular founder reasons why we shouldn't go that particular route?
Right. So in design, there's something we call very beautiful question. In design, there's the horizontal scaling, there's the vertical scaling. Right. If you understand those things, you then know how to approach people like that. Do you get? So the reality is, I don't want to go too much into cloud understanding where things can be built where by itself it can begin to scale based on how your user increases or whatever or your traffic. But let's come to the real world of a startup founder just approaches and say, "Oh, build me microservices. I want my wallet separately. I want my whatever features they have separate. You want everything to talk to each other. Yeah, good, right? But the reason for that, the person might not understand. He just edits somewhere that you could do that and then make everything talk to themselves. But the work or the job of you as an engineer who understands what you're building, right? And how scalable your solution can be. We've asked the who, why, and what, right?
Yes.
You already understand those things. Then, if somebody is coming to you with that sort of thing and say, okay, what's your traffic? What's your traffic like? Yeah. Is it traffic where we're looking at, oh, if like 20 people are trying to fetch their transaction at once, right? What does that do to a server?
Okay.
20 people are trying to query for a result. Why do you need the microservice for that? But when you're talking in thousands, when you're talking in, they are saying, because if the person has not told us that they have a potential of having like 600,000, 500,000, 400, let's even start 100K requests per minute or per whatever. What are you doing that you are going microservice? Now, in that type of system, you're then saying, you know what? It's not like your system can be built that way, right? I'm not a fan of spaghetti code as well in terms of just making everything just like fixed together, just couple everything, tight coupling and stuff like that. No, I'm not a fan either, right? But one thing you just need to make people like that understand is, yeah, we can still build a solution, a modular solution. Is
Yeah.
different from microservices,
Yes.
right? And if you understand some of these things, there's something we call the solid principle, single responsibility, and some of these things. So if we're talking in terms of modules, means that you don't have the traffic to be thinking microservice, right? You don't have that traffic. You are thinking modular solutions, right? So let's talk module. Okay, we can build you a wallet module, and that wallet module is still within the same context of, or within the same code base of your system, right? That module would function without affecting any other thing. Your authentication module will function without affecting any other thing. Your profile user, whatever modules you've got, right, they would all function as single responsibility, and nothing will break it. Because the main reason why large co-op or FANG, like the big guys, the reason why they
Yes.
go microservices or financial institution, fintechs and stuff like that, the reason why we go microservice is because you have systems that one must not break down and affect the other. That is the essential reason. You get, that's the only reason. It's not because it's beautiful. It might be hard. You have different departments handling several stuff, right?
Same.
Because you've got the, like, let me use Google for example. You've got the deep mind guys. The deep mind guys are the ones doing Gemini. Doesn't mean they're the one doing cloud. Do you get? You've got the
Yeah.
cloud guys. Like, everybody's got their own different services they build, right? So if you don't have such, or you are not envisaging such traffic, right? You shouldn't. Let me bring it home. Let's look at MoneyPoint. I think MoneyPoint started as Team Apps. Well, luckily, at the time MoneyPoint was starting as Team Apps, I was also working on the island in VI, and then we're building something similar with the company I was working for, then e-transfer and stuff like that. And then we were doing something similar. Those services, right? They were building. Then trust me, they were building modular solutions. I'm sure they weren't going the large scale at the time, but because they were building in modules, that module can be expanded.
Yeah. I
That
can stand it
module
on. Yeah.
is scalable. It is not spaghetti code. Do you get that module? That module is scalable. So it means that that DB can be exposed to some other system to do some other things. Do you get that in terms of code, right? And then when we now talk traffic, you can start moving them out into, I don't know what they started with, whether dedicated servers. And then when they understood that, oh, they are making more, or they have more users and stuff like that, you can start looking at proper cloud setup yourself. Do you get? I'm not saying because I know, no. I'm just saying that would be what they would have done at the time. Do you get? I didn't
Yeah.
work there. I'm just saying, based on my own understanding and experience, that's how they would have designed those systems. And then, okay, we're now getting big. We're eating like 2K, requests per second or per minute, however much it is. Then you're looking at solutions, right? And don't go and run into debt because you're a startup and you want to build a big startup. Yeah, you want to build a scalable solution. However, you need to understand what the solution is itself. Is that even if you, because you can build solutions like simple things that can make your solution even like be seamless, right? And useful,
Okay.
user friendly and everything. You can do things like, say, caching now, right? Other than say, oh, you want to go and do several cloud instance setup and stuff like that. And that way you are running into debt. Things that you don't require, you are doing it. But you don't need it, you are doing it. Why are you taking a solution that you know that you don't have users yet? right? Or you are not envisaging like 200,000 users at a go. Why are you putting that in a GCP or AWS or Azure or something? Yeah, you might have free credit from them. There are people who know how to set up those things to get you free credit, right? But for the start, you should understand that systems can be built in modules, right? And those module systems, just say a dedicated server from somebody can set that up, get your system to start growing. I always tell people who I have worked with in the past, I don't like, let's go and pick it from the top. Yes, build something well, no doubt. But picking it from the top, because you will come back to me. I know how in 2019, I know a solution we built, and the first bill we got, because they wanted AWS, and we didn't have a choice than to use AWS, was $1,088 for the first month. Yeah, I've got receipt of that. The first bill was $1,088. Tell me how you want to sustain that. That's not sustainable.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
not
you want to build
sustainable.
for the world or you want to build for Africa, but because you should have asked the right question from the beginning and then be honest as well. Founders, startup owners, whatever, should be honest as well with people who they work with. Don't over don't oversell or try to over engineer things. Do you get? This solution is good, fantastic, right? But what do you expect it to do? How much people do you? And then as you see it scale, of course, because if you have built the system well in modules, there are things that you could easily just move from one container, right, to another. And these days, CI/CD makes some of these things very seamless with just a simple
Easier, yeah.
YAML file, everything go from one place to another place. Just run GitHub Action or whatever it is you use or you are comfortable with. And I mean, good thing these days that people also understand that some of these things are bound to happen for you to learn, right? So if not everybody has the capacity to employ a solution architect from the beginning to get.
Yeah.
So not every software engineer is a solution architect. Let's get that
Yeah,
right.
that's another thing.
Right.
Yeah.
If you want to build a scalable system, don't think that, oh, that guy's my backend engineer, I should understand. No, backend engineer might be able to understand how to make their results return faster or their responses be faster, but doesn't mean that they can architect an actual solution. Do you
Yeah,
get?
end to
In
end.
terms of
Yeah.
distributions and everything? They are not the same. They can learn to be, but I'm not saying that every software engineer or every backend engineer can do. These are things that people learn, and if they don't learn it or if they don't know it, they can't offer it as a service to you. Do you get? So it's good that at the beginning you make research, understand the solution you want to build, and this would help you build this. Start modular, start in little chunks. Yeah, if it requires it, go for it. I'm not saying that. But if you know that you don't have that traffic, there's no need to run into debt and kill your startup even before it starts.
Okay. Thank you so much. Few things to pick from there as well. I think the company I'm working with currently, the application, the legacy system wasn't even modular. It's completely monolithic, completely monolithic. But right now we are trying to extract it into a modular. It's not actually easy, but it's what we actually need to do because of the traffic, the clients that are using the solution and the like. So I think when you want to scale, think about the architecture properly
Mm-hmm.
because you also need to consider the cost implication of all these things.
Absolutely.
Microservice is not easy. One person can't actually develop it. It's not easy. You also need to consider the cost implication of it. So thank you so much. Just a follow-up question to that. Currently where you're working, right? Uh,
Yes.
I know how big uh, the system that they will be using will be, but there are also going to be maybe new applications that you and your team might be working on, or maybe improving the legacy system, right? So the follow-up question is, how do you decide when to refactor, right,
Mm-hmm.
versus when to redesign entirely as uh, the engineering manager?
Yeah, that's a very brilliant question because is brilliant and is a trouble-filled question as well. Because well, if you work in some of these organizations, one thing you will understand is legacy systems are hard to just walk into a team and say, okay, let's change everything. It's not, it's, it's not like, it's not just like you wake up one day and say, it's almost impossible if you understand the context at which I'm coming.
It's not an easy
Yeah,
decision
it's
just
not
to
an
make
easy
here.
decision because, and for an organization like mine where you have about 6,000 staffs, so imagine the tiers of conversation that has to happen. So even when you think things have to happen within your own team, you still have to go up, up, up. And when things are going upward, very dragging. But when things are coming downward, it's like speed of
Sure.
light. Let me explain what I mean. So when you come into a team and you see things and you be like, oh, okay, I understand. The first thing is first, I'll try to chip it out for every engineer, whether new, whether like already a pro level or something. When you get into a team, understand how the system works. That's like just understand the architecture of everything and see how you can improve it. Don't rubbish anybody's code. Don't say something cannot work. It's like they are key components of you being a good team member or a good team player. Don't make those mistakes. Don't say, oh, who built this? Ah, no, this was built badly. Oh, it's a wrong approach to life, right? So even if you understand how things should have been built, this is a system they've been using. Don't forget, they're a big
Yeah.
organization. They've been using. It's been working. So if it's
Yeah.
been working, if they brought you in, please do not say it's bad, right? Yeah, you can improve it. You already see it and be, oh yeah, I can do better than this. But no, it is not in your own place to now rubbish it. So now back to your question of how do you then decide whether to refactor or to just maintain what you got? Right. So it comes in two ways, right? If it is not broken, don't fix it.
Okay.
It's a standard. If you, I mean, I'm sure we live in the same country. If it is not broken, is a very important thing. If it is not broken, that means if every tick or checkbox is ticked, there's no need to try and like make the whole thing break or try to just now at that point he answers one question or one part of the question. Just maintain that system, right? But if it is broken, means that a user request is taking like ages to get response, or maybe front end loading. Let me give you an instance. So at the time I came in, we were going to do our international. I hope I can share some of this. We're going to do our international side. And the first thing, I mean, well, it was one of the things that they told me that our international frontier is very, very key because, of course, it's a big school now. You understand? So the international stuff needed a complete revamp. And of course, we've got modular sort of systems and stuff like that. So things are not just all woven together. And then we're going to do that. And then we went through understanding. And because, of course, in this type of teams, you don't have one team making decision about maybe a single page you see. That single page decision is not made by one team. Yeah, it's just
Okay.
reality. It's not made by one team. So even if you have your own thoughts about making a solution happen, it's going to go through several teams and they are going to come back with several feedbacks or several thoughts,
Yeah.
which you have to sink in or like take in and then process on how best to approach whatever you're trying to do. So, oh, they were going to revamp this. It was, and one of the major issue was latency, how much time that page load. The first page paint is very slow. And what do they want to do? They want to also ensure that it is personalized. So it means that they didn't have this before. So they felt like, oh, we got this guy. He can tell our guys how to. And well, they worked on it at some point, but it wasn't happening. And I felt like, oh, I knew what we could do. I'm not going to give that out. I'm just going to say, I knew what we could
Yeah,
do.
that's fine.
We're
That's
going to,
fine.
we're going to personalize the whole thing. So it means that if you land on a page and you are in one country, that country page is what you see, the same URL, but you will see what belongs to your country in terms of content. Yeah, so those were the things that we're looking to do. And of course, this data is driven by legacy system at the moment, right? Means that we're going to change that, the same system to do some of these new things, right? And that at that point, you're thinking, now, are we refactoring what exists or try to tweak what does not exist or like tweak what exists or whatever the English is, right? So at that point, I sat with my team. One thing we always also do is you get feedback from people, understand from people who have been there. If you are new or
Okay.
if you are new, understand everybody, let every stakeholder speak. Do you get in terms of what they've experienced? From that feedback, you understand the scale at which you are building and the scale to which you are building for. Because it was as of then it was the international side, so it wasn't really for us. In fact, we had people funny. We had people, whilst we were doing tests, we had someone go to France and check whether it is actually working that way
Wow.
because they do because in this type of system, nobody VPN or no VPN, no, is not. They want to know exactly how the user experience is it. Yeah. So one of the people in the other side of the discussion was in France, went to France, checked it out and said, "Oh, yes, I can see what belongs to me in French and stuff like that." And because we got all those feedbacks, it was there we knew that okay, we need to tweak things around. This particular thing that exists right now needs to be rewritten, right? Every component needs to be redeveloped, right? Need to also mention that my own role is not to build websites. I'm the web development manager. We are the web team, but my own role within that team is not to actually build the site. Do you get? My own role is to guide the team, right, to build components
Okay.
that they use across the. So it's just like how we use this 3D libraries. Did I say 3D
Okay.
libraries? These libraries. So we build all the
Yeah.
libraries of
No get
state,
libraries. The
right?
lives.
So we build all the components, libraries, and stuff like that, and then different departments, different faculties just use them. So we needed to build components that will do those things, and we were able to get at that point. We knew that everything that currently exists, search, the cost listing, whatever it is, no way those were going to work. At that point, it was easy for you to come in. I'm using you now, is me in this case. It was easy for
Yeah.
me to come in and say, you know what, no, what exists cannot work. We need to rewrite
Okay.
this to make that happen. And for that to happen, you have to you have to understand the scale at which you're working for. And then, of course, because you're now thinking, how many countries are we looking at? How do you even want to identify the country? How do you want to do all these things? It's not, the page you first. But let's leave all those things. But you need to understand those contexts. Let every stakeholder speak. When you understand from the stakeholders, see the system that exists, understand the current architecture. When you have to understand the current architecture, maybe do a bit of testing with the current architecture and see what is possible. Yeah, I do that a lot. So when something is legacy, I try to do it like maybe it's called stress test or stuff like that. I try to see how much that thing can go. And because when you later push it out and say, oh, this is what we've done, people want to also stress test it to be sure that you have built something solid. So you need to go through all those iterations first, and then once you determine that whether that is um, good for you to maintain or maybe refactor to get. But again, like I said from the beginning, if it is not broken, if every checkbox is ticked, there's no need going that route. Just try to
Mm.
maintain code. Whatever needs to be done or added to it, you can do it in a more efficient way, right? But please do not try to break it working like a perfect.
System. Yeah. Thank you so much. Like you mentioned, don't if it's working, then you don't need to.
Yeah, if it's not
Right.
broken, don't fix it.
If it's working, right? Because like you mentioned, even some banks in Nigeria, when you're building something for them, right, they won't allow you to touch their core banking solution because
That's why it's
it's
called a
working for them.
legacy system.
Yeah, it's working for them. If you touch anything like this, that's the end. And they don't want to spend that huge amount of money to call those those teams to come and fix this for them again. So if it's working, just leave it. Thank you so much. Our time. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah. So I just have like two more questions for us to round up this
No,
particular
no
episode.
issues.
So when we're not talking about scaling for millions, right? How
Mm-hmm.
can engineers, right? How can engineers, this is pertaining to engineers, how can they prepare themselves to work on system with millions of users? Because you've been there. How can engineers prepare themselves to work on system
I'll
with
go back to
millions of
your first
users?
response. That your first response of saying that you can't build it alone. Just forget that Nigerian superpower thing that we. I'm sorry, I'm using Nigeria as an example. It's because we are Nigerians, though, but just forget that Nigerian superpower thing. Because if you don't have a third eye, second eye, fourth, eye, whatever number of eyes you have to check things out, you probably discover in production, which is a terrible thing, that you have built something that is not worth whatever you've called it. Do you get? But if you've got a team, right, and well, I don't think anyone who is looking at millions in terms of traffic should be thinking of superpower. Means that there's just one man that can, or one guy that's so good, is full stack, can do everything. And you're looking millions. Please don't invest in such. Do you get? So now an engineer, don't take on such roles where you are the superpower and you want to. There's this joke we make on Twitter, or people make on Twitter. It's like looks like prison is just smelling to you, like you're just passive in it. You get? That's what it looks like if you are taking such thought. Because if you are looking scaling a solution into the millions, then even number of engineers on this type of solutions should almost be, I don't know, should almost be the proper scale of what that solution is in terms of ratio. I don't know whether it is 10 to 1 or 100 to 1 or something like that.
Okay.
Yes, because that's the reason. So you find out that some of these top companies, the FANG, the big guys, right? Even if you say Chrome, right? In Chrome, for like a solution by Google, in Chrome, there are teams who focus on Africa, Middle East. In Chrome, they're all developers, right? Their focus is on Chrome, Africa, Middle East, Chrome, Asia, Chrome, America, Chrome, Europe, Chrome, United Kingdom. It's not because person cannot be duplicating their codes and stuff like that. But when you are building solution for people, you need to understand that millions is already going into the scale, or into the sphere of, there are people with diverse thoughts. You wouldn't be building a solution where maybe your logo is showing, what's this thing? Maybe a pig or something. I'm just using an example. You won't be building a solution. You might not know because you live in a place where it is just, you are cached, right? You are within like a locality, how do I put it? Cachement. Yeah, a cachement. In that cachement, anything goes, right? But when you come to this part of the world, anything doesn't go. You have to understand what GDPR is before you build, right? So because they don't want to miss out on such solutions, I'm just using the simple things here now. They don't want to miss out on such information or such detail. They would have teams for separate places where they know that everyone needs to understand how those people behave. And it also even helps your user on how they perceive things. Because the way an European will perceive a solution is different from the way an African will interact with it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It's the pure fact, and it's different from the what an American. Let me give you an instance. I've spoken with somebody before, and then a feature was removed from a solution. Why? Because the name of that feature is favorites. Favorites. You can laugh about it, but I'm telling you, as someone who has seen the global scale of development, that in Europe, favorite has a U. In America, favorite does not have a U.
Yeah, that's true.
And they
That's true.
wanted that feature to be, if I've liked it, then it should be favorites. And the other person say, if I've liked it, it should be favorite. But they don't want to split it. In such instances, a big company would split the apps, or split it based on country, localize it, and say your spelling would be FOFAVOUR, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
then in America, FAVOR.
Oh,
Labor, labor. Those OU is not acceptable in America, and they won't accept it. Do you understand? Why would you develop something that you're putting rainbow color in Middle East? You cannot do that, right? You can't go to Middle East and present them an app with rainbow colors. That is how you need to, like, little details. But and the funny things, if you don't design or develop on this level, you can't know some of it.
yeah,
You get.
yeah,
Or I'm just
that's
chipping
true.
in as some of the little things. Well, then we're talking to top solutions or design system requirement, like CDN, content delivery, in terms of, you
Yeah.
can't be expecting that your client is in China and you're serving your data, right? You're serving your data from say Belgium or maybe South Africa if you're in Africa, because that's where AW is. You're serving your data from
Yeah,
South Africa
that's correct.
to China in
To
Asia.
China.
You can't do that because some of the policies for some of these countries says that their data cannot go outside their country. So if
Yeah,
you're
that's true.
building for such or you're building solutions for such people, you're then thinking you need to be deploying to their catchment, right? In fact, if you were in Middle East and you needed to build, say, a fintech solution, your fintech like that data must not travel out of Middle East. Whether you want to use AWS, you have to bring AWS to that place where you want that data.
Yeah, that's true.
You see some of these people doing on-prem setup and stuff like that. Some of them, if you've got servers or if you've got data center regions close to them, you can use them and deploy with CDN to their catchment. But that data must not, it's by policy, government policy and stuff like that. Data protection, you must not take it out. So those are some of the very essential components or knowledge that someone who has built on that level or someone who is aiming to build on that level needs to know. And it's good to research as well. And that's why I said you can't do it alone. So you can be
Yeah,
building back end of if I if I click on this box now, favorite it, and then you're displaying a favorite to an American person, that's the end of your app in that catchment. Do you get? Because that name is not, that spelling is not acceptable to them. So you'll be looking at localization, right? Data as well in terms of where you're storing their data, how you're using their data. Differs catchment by catchment. Content delivery in terms of latency. Do you want you can't be delivering from Belgium or from Europe West or from Europe something to Asia or to America. You need to be looking at US Central, US, all those things. But whatever services you're using, you might be probably using GCP, that's Google Cloud, or you are using AWS or whichever one. Just ensure that you are designing to meet the requirements. And of course, when you're now designing for multiple systems or like multiple sort of zones where you're looking at regions and you're looking at maybe Africa, you're looking at another continent, you then have to now start thinking of replications. Means that
yeah.
you have a single database, right? And that's your failover. Where's your failover if it breaks down for maybe it breaks down in America? Where's your failover? You need to be thinking of where your failover will be in America to ensure that your data is always available, because you can't be running a fintech
How
solution
long is
and
yeah, how
somebody
long?
wants to check their bank account. And because I'll give you an instance about some, I think it's early this year or late last year, Monzo had something that happened. I know you know Monzo, yeah? Had something that happened. And they
Enomonzo?
published it. They published it on Twitter, I think, and said, oh, they've moved to their failover system. For people like me, I understand what it is because, of course, I'm a professional cloud architect. But people, what is failover? That's because data is consistently being replicated to avoid
Yeah, that's
problem and
true.
prevent freezing. Do you understand? So, and this are not knowledge that comes off 1 year of experience. You just think that no, you need to understand that there are technical specialties for some of these things. And it is only people who can do them or who have learned them or who have mastered them that you can assign these roles to. Means that a superman in your startup cannot set all these things up and you expect it to be fully functional. Some details
Yeah.
might be missing that can lead to trouble. So if you're looking in terms of scale that is like running into hundreds of thousands and stuff like that, please do not go just one person or one man team or men team. Be looking at proper designer, proper solution architects, solution.
Architects, yeah.
Be looking at the back-end engineers, and of course, please do not depend on one person as your back-end engineer. Ensure you have 2, 3 people who understand the same system, same architecture, and can build the same way. Well, they might not be on the same level in terms of experience, but just ensure that you have people who can easily integrate your systems. And because I'm saying this because of numbers, not because you need to use that to boast. Just because of numbers, your numbers should be in ratio of the users you're trying to reach, because it will also even give you better results. And please do not run away from testing your solutions. Canary testings, bring your testings, get closed people. Well, you can start with your close relative, but please also get like normal closed group testing where people who you think can quickly give you feedbacks about your solution. You can, like I said, whilst we're doing our international sites, somebody went to France. This is for real. This is not make. This is not a make-up story. Somebody went to France just to make sure that something like that happened. So please ensure that you are able to test your solutions before you say you're ready for production and stuff like that. And yeah, please get get knowledge from there are there are resources on YouTube, but please, YouTube is not where you get the actual knowledge. Please buy books, go to courses, understand some of these things, and they would help you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Even you've even talked about my last question about
Wow, amazing.
final, yeah, about advice that you can give to engineers that are building the next generation of global system. I think you've also mentioned some things about that. Like you also mentioned, watching YouTube alone is not sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
You also need to get your hands dirty, because if you didn't practice all these things,
Please,
let's just imagine that Monso, they are engineers, they're cloud architect, they just know about uh, all
failovers.
this theory thing, and they can do the practical. That can actually be the end of that particular application.
Yeah,
So I
because I think
think
it was an unexpected event, and but I mean they were
it
able to.
happens. It happens. I think if not this early this year
I think it
or
was this year. I
late
saw the
last year.
post and I just laughed. I said, "Oh, wow,
No,
that's,
Google AWS had a problem. Azure had a problem because it
that
also
that one was
affected.
the global outage." Yeah, that one was
Yeah,
the global
so
outage.
if some of these things, if people don't know about how to quickly restore things, that will be the end, because
Imagine not
at
even
that
taking
point,
the
a
snapshot.
lot of
Yeah,
a lot of things, a lot people hosting on Azure, people hosting on AWS was just having problem. So you need to actually know how to quickly restore stuffs, right? Thank you so much.
thank you
I
for having.
think I don't want to take much of your time today again,
Thank you so
because
much.
I know how busy you are. But final thing from me, right? You just secure a certification of recent.
Yeah,
I saw it on LinkedIn, and I saw it. Um, how is that particular certification going to help you and your team? I
yeah.
just want you to
For
talk
me,
about
like
it.
some of the tips I've given off, I've given out, some of the knowledge I've gotten from adding the cloud certification because um I wanted to do more. Basically, I manage a team. I'm an engineering manager by qualification, like not just by mouth, by qualification and by role. So I work with cloud a lot, and of course, one thing to look out for in the future, even now as we speak, is AI is here and it's here to stay, right? Understanding how these things work is very important, and where this thing live, where does AI live? It lives in the cloud. Do you get?
Yeah, that's true.
How you get some of your information out there, how you understand how to set up systems, you enterprise systems generally, not our startup ideas and stuff like that. Enterprise solutions, they require proper thoughts, they require proper, right? Which is why I felt like, okay, I need to have a deeper understanding of this. I've been working with AWS since like 2019, 2018. Yeah. That was my first attempt. So that would be like 7 years ago. Right. 7 years, 8 years ago. That was my first attempt. And that was the first one where I told you that we got the first bill of 1,000. Imagine $1,088. This is not a makeup story. It happened. I I brought the bill out. And I don't want to say story about that event because if I say you already know that, oh, we built from this side of people, and you know those set of people, and you know the kind of things they do. So it's something that it can lead you to problem as a new startup if you are going that route without proper understanding. So for me personally, my journey into becoming a cloud architect, because I want to start looking at, well, not consulting basically, but looking at how to make solutions scalable for whether my organization, wherever I find myself in the future, right? And this certification was one of those things to say, oh, this guy knows the onions. Yeah, and well, I jumped a level, like I think I mentioned that in my LinkedIn post as well.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
An associate first, but I felt like, no, let me try this challenge. And then I challenged myself to it. Studied for it because it needed us studying as well. And then, of course, I went in for it and I probably did well, and they found me worthy of getting the certification. What that does for me or for my organization is that it helps us because I'll give you an instance. There are times when some of these top organizations there are a lot of third party solutions that we use and stuff like that. And when they come back to us and say some of these things are taking so much money or so, and then you're like, wait, my own level of I mean, this is my own area of specialization. I'm an expert in this. This thing you're saying is not true. Give us data to back what you have said. So that gives me it puts me in a position to speak not
Yeah.
as someone with an idea, but someone who actually knows, practice, and is certified in that. So if I'm going to talk about AI now and stuff like that, I understand the basic organization of this system wherever it sits and how to also like I could set up models and stuff like that. Part of my training in getting that certification. So that's why I've gone that route. Basically many of these things it's hard to say, but I'm not preaching Google here, but many of these things are driven by Google models, Vertex AI and stuff like that, which is what you need to know in terms of setting up some of these AI solutions as well. So you see a lot of them is quite competitive there. We've tested a lot, we've seen a lot. So yeah, that's what that solution or sorry, that certification does for me basically. Just puts me in an expert role in terms of I know that thing and I don't speak out from my and from idea, I speak from my specialization as well as understanding the whole thing. And of course, for the future, everything will go into the cloud, definitely.
Yeah, sure. We're already there. We're already there. We're already there. Thank you so much
Thank you so much for having me.
for sharing your experience and your insight. I've picked one or two things, and I believe our listeners all over the world will have picked one or two things also from this particular episode.
Yeah,
Thank you
sure.
so much.
Thank you.
You can follow us on social media for more of this particular episode on TechNaijaFM. I remain your host, Babatunde Esanju, and like I do say, until next time, keep building. This time, don't just build, don't just keep building system that will last.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining us
Bye
today.
everyone. Bye.
All
Nice
right.
to see you.
Bye. Yeah.